CJ Stroud spoke to the media on Tuesday ahead of the Wildcard game versus the Chargers. I have not watched any of this yet. I will pick the answers that most appeal to me, titillate me, anger me, make me sad or happy and excited, and I will just give you those to keep this as short as possible. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the video. First question was, where did you get your leadership skills from?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say my father. First, it was just my dad led me in a lot of ways. I had a lot of great father figures as well, like with coaches and men in my community. Man, that was probably like the options there was just learning to follow and then lead, and then my high school coach, Coach Verdi, Coach Day, Coach Dennis, who was my quarterback's coach at Ohio State, led me a lot of ways. Coach Fitch, who I told you guys about before at Ohio State, and then D'Amico, and so I just believe that I don't know, that's probably a bad thing to say about yourself, but I don't think I'm all that when it comes to lead. I just try to be myself, and I don't know, I don't know, I'm stubborn in a lot of ways, and I think that kind of carried into the sport, but like even as a kid, my mom used to always say how stubborn I was, and I think just having a standard is how I hear it. Is like stubborn is I just have a standard on how I like things to be done and how I hold myself as a standard. So yeah.
Underrated quality of being a good leader, stubbornness, because they never phrase it this way in the leadership books. It's all about finding a vision and going after it. Look, there's an appropriate amount of sociopathy that goes into being a leader, because you have to have a vision and a standard that's frankly unrealistic and irrational, and that you shouldn't be able to expect others to adhere to. And yet, good leaders figure out a way to get others to adhere to that standard. I would imagine this year, with all of the shortcomings on offense, CJ probably, because that's the way a lot of quarterbacks are wired, probably feels personally responsible for it. That's the way it should be. And we have seen those elements of him where he's got a really high standard. He gets frustrated when it's not met. It's just tough in a year like this, week after week. It's not like you can be bludgeoning guys over the head every practice for where they aren't. You got to try to take these little micro victories, and it's difficult. Follow-up question, if CJ had to put into words what a great leader is, what would it be?
I would say it would have to be making everybody around you better. Kind of like a point guard on offense, a quarterback on a football team, a pitcher, on a baseball team. But yeah, just making everybody around you better. But I wouldn't say I don't think I'm a bad leader. I don't think that. I just don't look at myself in that light of like just I'm all world at that. But I try my best to lead by example, and it's cool because I don't ask guys, and to hear what they have to say about that is kind of cool. So.
Yeah, just like Marcus Aurelius told Maximus in Gladiator 1, the good one, you lead not because you want to lead, but because it's your duty and you're compelled to do it, or something like that. I don't remember. Next question, what do you see from the Chargers defense?
Yeah, Derwin, jumps off on film. I think he's having almost his best year of his career, rushing the quarterback, playing in nickel, safety, doing great in coverage, So, yeah, he's definitely, I feel like one of the best players on the team, along with Bosa and Khalil Mack. And then, Deion, who's one of my friends, is playing really well as well. And then they have a good back end, but their D-line as well is really good. So, I mean, all around, they're really good. So, but that's what the playoffs are, is, their best versus our best, and got to do our best to, handle what they're going to do and play hard and, try to execute every play as best as we can.
Derwin James is being used magnificently by the Chargers, and the Chargers are a defense that, look, they play a lot of zone, but then they ambush you with the blitz. And oftentimes it's a safety or corner blitz by Derwin James, which has caused problems for the Texans this year. Sometimes it's a matter of CJ not recognizing it quickly enough. Sometimes it's a matter of the hot routes not having their eyes on CJ. Sometimes it's pass protection breakdowns. The pass protection breakdowns have been drastically reduced over the second half of the season. It's just that it's still not what you want it to be when it comes to recognizing and handling the corner blitzes. So Derwin James, I would say keep an eye on him, but your eyes are naturally gravitated towards him because he's so damn good and so athletic. Next question, how has the pass protection been different since Titus Howard moved from right tackle to left guard?
Yeah, he's been able to do a great job in there and holding his own, definitely just being just a comfort blanket, I knowing that he's gonna do his job every time, and just have that interior locked down, or that interior structure, like it's kind of like a wall. There's three interior guys, so it's definitely helpful having him in there. I'm just happy that he's happy doing it, and I'm proud of him that he is that type of guy for the team, is to go in there even though his natural position is tackle, but to go in there and have success has been really awesome to watch.
I think one of the biggest things that Titus Howard offers down there is just simply bulk. I don't want to be too meatheadish about this, but as a former interior defensive lineman, there's no getting over just flat out big dudes sometimes. And Titus has that body and that ability to play on the interior. Honestly, I wish he would really embrace it, because his athleticism at the guard position would be top notch, but he's just been very adamant that he's first and foremost a tackle. I would rather personally, okay, is the paycheck a little bit better at tackle? Sure, but the paycheck's good no matter where you are on the field. I think Titus, if he embraced it, could be an all-pro guard, but he just shows no willingness to embrace it. So, as I've said way too many times this season with this offense, it is what it is. Or as the Irish would say, 'tis what 'tis. Next question related to the Chargers, who have one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL, and the Texans, who have one of the worst red zone offenses in the NFL. What hasn't clicked for the offense, or what needs to get better?
I would say, they're a bend don't break type of defense. They don't really give up a whole bunch of explosive plays. They make you earn it. So when they bend and they don't break in the red zone. So I think they do a good job in there, and they rally tackle. No one takes a play off, but I think we've been halfway decent in the red zone this year, better than we've been in the past. The last couple of weeks haven't been ideal all the time, but I mean, except for really the Ravens game, I would say we've been decent in the red zone, scoring touchdowns, getting points. So I would say just got to be our best.
Yeah, and look, bend but don't break is always kind of a dirty phrase in a lot of NFL fans' minds, because when it doesn't work out, it's bend, break. And they bend, and then they break in the red zone. Chargers do it the right way. They'll bend. They play a lot of shell coverages, a lot of the things that have caused the Texans issues this year. And they'll concede some yardage, but because they're so good at playing in their zones, and because they will selectively blitz and play man, they make life really difficult down in the red zone. This is where a run game really comes in handy, and we've seen glimmers of hope. Hey, Dameon Pierce just took off in a way that he hasn't in the last 2 years in this last game. But if they can figure it out with this new offensive line configuration, and maybe with the added presence of Dameon Pierce to keep Joe Mixon fresher, maybe. Big challenge this week, though. Big challenge. Next question, how do you feel that you handled all of the shifting personnel because of injuries and whatnot on the offensive line and elsewhere?
Yeah, it hasn't been easy. It's been a very, very tough year, just with injuries and, things like that. So just trying my best, to lead and just make everybody around me better who is in the game, and, getting rapport for receivers and things like that, and, just trying to stay healthy with what I got. And I think it's not just me out there, it's everybody out there fighting every day to make plays happen, and we put ourselves in position to be division champs, another 10-win season, which is good. And of course our standard wasn't necessarily hit in the regular season, but that's why the postseason is fresh start, 0-0, and now we got to do our best to put our best foot forward and play our best ball. So
it hasn't been easy. That might have to be the thumbnail for this video. It might be the most succinct summation of the offense's struggles this year. The one thing that I think people outside of Houston would scoff at, but here in Houston we are hanging our hopes and dreams on, is the potential of CJ Stroud to form a connection with Deontay Johnson. So we talk about dealing with all these shifting pieces. Deontay, in the game last week versus the Titans, he had some looks, had a couple receptions. He had 2 targets that were incompletions, but where he was definitely open on both of them. He just couldn't connect with Davis Mills. I'm optimistic about that, and especially with Deontay Johnson. Look, whatever the reasons were that led to his tumultuous stays at his previous 3 destinations, it tends not to be an issue when a guy knows that he's only on a team for 1, 2, 3 games potentially. And there is a little bit of an ambush element. Like, obviously the Chargers know that the Texans are going to try to get the ball to Deontay Johnson, but they don't know exactly how. Deontay is probably going to have somewhat of a limited package, but the Chargers don't know what that's going to be. They kind of got to guess and look at, okay, well, let's see, if the Texans think he can do this and we think he can do this, then they'll probably do this. But the Chargers defense doesn't have that on film to watch and get the mental reps versus. So Deontay Johnson looks plenty athletic as he's ever been. All of those elements that give him a very big upside. You just need it. You just need it for a few quarters here. Next question, why do you think you guys could hit your standard now when you haven't been able to do it during the regular season?
Just because the playoffs is like a new win. It feels like a new season. It feels like everything in the past is over. It's a new year. So there's a bunch of things that I can sit here and round down why it feels like, I feel like you ask any other team in the NFL, they're going to say the same thing. It's just you're more excited just because, you got the hard part of the season done. Now it's go play your best ball, go show your best stuff. And that's fun. That's the fun part of ball. And, of course it is that in the regular season, but it's also some things, where it's more, I would say, thoughtful. You're not playing against some of the guys you're used to playing against. Now we're playing against all AFC teams and, building a rapport. Been, playing against this tree of defense for a while. So, kind of like how they scheme things up and what they like to do. I would say that's some of the reasons why, this season, the postseason feels like, it's a fresh start.
Next question. CJ, how do you block out all the naysayers? Rex Ryan, first and foremost. We had the most soundbite worthy naysaying of the week.
Yeah, noise is always going to be there. It's always, it's part of the sport. It's always evident in the sport. And they said the same thing about us last year, so playing the Browns. And I'm not saying this last year, but, we went out there and we did what we had to do to win. And that's ultimately what the playoffs come down to is like, it's 14 teams now and, the microscope is on you. We're the first team to kick it off with the Chargers, and so everybody has their own opinions, which they're entitled to have those things. So, I really don't mind. It's part of it. Guys are smart. They probably can see film and see that whatever they want to see. So, and for us, we know we have faith in what we can do, and know that we're motivated to play. I kind of like being an underdog. I've been an underdog a lot of my life and my career, so it's actually comfortable for me. So, but yeah, I don't really think too much about it.
The microscope is on you, but it's a little bit more like a junior high biology microscope. It's not the electron microscope when you're talking about 3:30 p.m. Central on a Saturday, the Texans' chosen spot to play playoff games. But I'm glad that CJ brought up Cleveland last year. This team has evidence of, hey, no matter how you played towards the end of the season or what people might be saying about you, especially in a game versus the Chargers. Look, the Texans are 3-point underdogs, which isn't a huge margin, but it's at home. So basically, the odds makers are saying the Chargers are six points better than the Texans. And it's hard for me to get too rankled about the fact that, yeah, there's reasons for the naysayers to say nay about the Texans, and most of them reside on the offense. So it's all about the defense for me. Anything we get out of the offense is going to be a bonus, more so than anything to make a playoff run. I think the defense is going to have to generate a bunch of turnovers, and then the Texans offensively, I don't expect them to be juggernauts, but capitalize. Don't just settle for field goals, partly because Kaimi Fairbairn has gone from one of the most damn rock-solid things on this team to now I'm petrified when he kicks even extra points. You don't have to make the naysayers wrong on offense. You just have to make the naysayers say, turn them into meh-sayers. Give them meh performance offensively. Thanks for watching. I'm Seth Payne, played for the Texans a long, long time ago. If you liked what you saw, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, and everybody have an awesome time this weekend. And of course, thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the video.